Here in episode number 74, I'm going to tell you about how I was robbed 3 different times. How's that for clickbaiting you? But seriously, have you ever found yourself longing for what someone else has and you think you should have it too? Or instead, this is a little deeper than just envy because I'm wanting to speak to discontentment. If you've ever found yourself there, let's dive into it together. Listen in. Welcome to the UnPerfect Podcast. I'm your host, Shelley Sneed, and I help Christian women see glimpses of glory in the now and the not yet of their unperfect lives. If you struggle with fully living the life you've been dealt, congrats, you're officially human, and you're not alone. Hope and probably some humor are coming up. All right, friends, here it is. I was robbed of an experience that should have been mine. I was entitled to it. Seriously, after all, years of blood, sweat, tears, medical appointments, homeschooling, public schooling, private schooling, boarding schooling, is that even a word? Parent-teacher conferences, IEP meetings, hours spent filling out permission slips and forms, more hours spent filling out these forms, and knees that were raw from kneeling in prayer to get them to this moment. I had earned this. Yet, the opportunity to watch my high school graduate walk across a stage and receive a diploma was taken from me 3 times. Some of you are going, oh my gosh, be thankful. It's a very long ceremony. But still, COVID stole my 2020 graduate. The desire to be done a semester early, which I'm also blaming on COVID, stole my 2023 graduate, and getting her GED a year before her graduation date stole my would-be 2025 graduate. So last May in 2024, I actually got to watch my first of 4 kids, and only of 4 kids, walk across a stage to receive their high school graduation diploma. It was a beautiful ceremony. In fact, I was amazed at how they did it. This child happened to go to a private school, and the way they did their graduation was phenomenal, with saying things about the student, and it was just very meaningful. And the student got to go to their parents to give hugs while they were talking about them. It was really sweet. But anyway, back to my victimhood. Let's get back to me, please. Have you ever said in your spirit or out loud, that's not fair? And I'm not talking like when you were 3 years old, but like maybe when you were 23 or 43 or yesterday old. Things have not always turned out the way I've planned. I have watched many a stranger, an acquaintance, or a friend experience things that I felt like I should have, that I'd wanted to. And I've had seasons where looking past my boundaries has left me longing, really. Seasons where, if I were brutally honest, which I usually am, I really didn't care to hear about your pregnancy or your kid's achievement or your paycheck amount or your travel to some remote country or your best-selling book or even your ministry, because I felt kind of stuck within the walls of my own restraints. Just kind of gazing through those blinds of my dreams on hold, really too self-consumed in discontentment to watch others live their lives out. And I'm guessing Paul understood this, whether via his thorn in the flesh or writing bestsellers from a musty jail cell. I think he could identify with limits. He probably couldn't identify with my childish attitude, or at least he didn't write about that. But he did write about choosing contentment. He chose to see his boundaries as a gift. I think he saw them as restorative acts of grace, the way that he wrote about them, rather than restrictive acts of indifference. Because that last thing, that just doesn't fit our God's MO, does it? Beauty and purpose and godliness are the end games of anything he does or permits. And Paul describes the secret to contentment as dependence on God-given strength rather than reliance on external circumstances. You can read about that in Philippians 4:11 through 13. And it's interesting, the Greek word used there for content has several meanings. It can mean sufficient for oneself, strong enough or possessing enough to need no aid or support, independent of external circumstances, contented with one's lot, one's means, even though they're slender. And I may not have what others possess, but God has truly given me everything I need to carry out His plan. I believe that. I believe it. I just don't always like it. But you can head to episode number 13 where I talk a little bit more about this. It was an episode called When God Doesn't Provide What I Need. But today, I am choosing and learning to choose contentment for the seasons when coveting tries to creep in and tell me I've been robbed. Because I also know there are plenty of experiences that I've been spared from that probably should have been mine. And I'm equally grateful for His gift of scarcity in those. There's a quote from Jeremiah Burroughs from The Rare Jewel of Christian Contentment, and it says this: "So be satisfied and quiet. Be contented with your contentment. I lack certain things that others have, but blessed be God, I have a contented heart, which others have not." So I just want to ask you, are you in a season that kind of feels like robbery? Are there some limitations that you need to come to grips with? And how are you practicing choosing contentment? Because I do think it's a practice. It is not something we're just going to flip the light on and be like, yep, I'm content. I do want to give you some ideas for growing in contentment, and I will be doing these with you today, this week, whenever you get to it. There will be a free printable download about this for Cultivating Contentment. So just know you can click on that and show links. But here are, let's see, I've got 6. Here are 6 ideas for growing in contentment. Number 1 is super easy. Identify the source of your discontent. Just name it. Like maybe right now, I don't feel very productive, and I don't feel like I can be productive because of circumstances in my home. That's causing me to be discontent. It's causing me to want a different set of circumstances. For you, it may be I'm discontent in my marriage or my job or loneliness or my ministry, whatever has you feeling frustrated or feeling robbed. Like that should be what I'm experiencing right now. So just name it. We always say name it to tame it. That's all you got to do. Figure out what am I feeling discontent about and in. Okay, number 2. Make a favorite moments list. I am totally stealing and adopting this from John Acuff. I love his books. And recently he has written All It Takes Is a Goal. And then he wrote the version with his daughters for teenagers called How Teens Win, which I fully recommend. I'm doing it with my 3 youngest kids right now, ages 17 to 19. But what he calls them to do is a best moments list, like to show you where your passions are. But here's what I'm suggesting for this exercise. Make a favorite moments list. Make a list of 5 of your favorite things to do. A few of mine would be having coffee with my friend Joy, or meeting my friend Jody for lunch at a halfway point between the 2 cities we live in, or spending 1 hour of undisturbed writing at a coffee shop. Right now, we don't have any coffee shops open in town because none of our water's clean after Hurricane Helene. But when that happens, that's on my list. Yours could be reading a new novel, cleaning out a junk drawer. We all have our thing. Rearranging the furniture in your living room. Whatever brings you joy and gives you that feeling of either accomplishment or peace or contentment afterwards. So make a list, and here's what I'm going to say. Make a list of at least 5 favorite moments, and then put one on the calendar for your next free day. Whatever it is, determine I'm going to do this tomorrow or the next day. Okay, number 3, gratitude. I know we talk about this all the time, so I'm going to do this in a little bit of a different way. I'm going to tell you, write God a thank you note. Okay, so like I said, I had several graduates all at once because of how they chose to graduate. But I had to teach them how to do thank you notes, which I know says a lot about my parenting because they should have been sending them all along. Can I just make a public apology to everyone who has sent my child a gift and you never knew if they received it or not because you never got a thank you note? That's on me. I stink at them, and honestly, I was just trying to keep them alive. So that thank you notes was way down on the list under keep them alive. But I had to teach them how to write a thank you note. So I put out this form like, dear so and so, thank you so much for thinking of me at my graduation. Thank you for sending me the blank. And then say something about it, like I'm really going to enjoy using it, or I've already gotten to spend that gift card and it brought me a lot of joy, whatever. And I think if we could kind of write God a thank you note, just pick something. But instead of just making a list, oh, I'm grateful for chocolate, I'm grateful for queso, I'm grateful for my husband, I'm great. Like that's great too. That's great too. But pick one thing and really write God a thank you note. Like tell him why that thing brings you so much joy and how many times you've gotten to experience that joy. Just see where that goes. I think it could be fun. Number 4, serve someone else. This is usually the last thing on our list because sometimes we are feeling so empty, we really don't think we can pour out to anyone else. And there are times when that is true. But in terms of feeling content, if we serve someone less fortunate than us, maybe who has a need that we can meet, maybe it's just somebody I want to get to know better, a neighbor, bake them cookies, make them a meal, offer to watch their kid for an hour so they can just relax. Somehow, giving back and lending help to someone else allows us to see the value in what we currently have. So that's number 4. Number 5, trade a bad habit for a good one. Again, this seems like work, and we're trying to, I don't know, maybe make our life seem a little easier. But stay with me. We talked about this in episodes number 39 and 40 with Jody Allen, 4 practical steps to trade one habit for another. So for me, it might be limit my coffee to 2 cups a day and increase my water intake to 8 cups a day. I know we're supposed to be doing that already, but I don't. It might be I want to read 30 minutes in one of my stack of books that I've ordered and haven't read yet. Maybe that's not you, but that is me. I have a very bad habit of ordering books and not getting around to reading them. But maybe I'm going to do that instead of scrolling on social media. And here's another one. For me, it takes an act of Congress to get me out the door on a walk, which is my main form of exercise. But y'all, when I get back, I feel so good because I knew what it took to get me out the door. I know that my body is thanking me. My mental health is thanking me. I feel like I have accomplished something huge, like I've just cured a disease or something. So there is something very fulfilling about trading a bad habit for a good one. And I think it is going to fuel our contentment because it's going to fuel our attitude in a positive way. Okay, number 6, and this is not last because it's least important. In fact, it kind of needs to be paired with number 1. Remember number 1 where you named it? You named why you're feeling so discontent, what it is you're so discontent in. Well, number 6 is take it to God. Go back to what you named in number 1 and just say, God, I'm feeling discontent in this area. What do you have to say about that? Not like you're sitting God down. I mean, like, God, I want to hear what you have to say about it. Is this evidence of something else out of balance in my life? Is there a change I need to make? Or is there a promise that I need to meditate on, a promise from you? And if that feels cliche, you may need to change up the way you commune with God. I have to do this often. You may need to change where you sit, what you're reading, what version of the Bible you're reading. I've had several podcasts about this and even a free download of 10 creative ways to read the Bible. So I'll put links to all that in the show notes so you can go there. But do something fresh, okay, that refreshes your time with him. Practice his presence in a fresh, new way. All right, as I already said, if you want copies of these ideas and some room for you to process your answers, I got you. There's a link in the show notes, Cultivating Contentment. You can download and print it for free, so check it out. There's a beautiful quote I just read by Gilbert K. Chesterton, and it says this: being contented ought to mean in English as it does in French, being pleased. Being content with an attic ought to not mean being unable to move from it and resign to living in it. It ought to mean appreciating all there is in such a position. How beautiful is that? And I'm just going to say right here, I am not there yet, but I hope that by practicing those 6 steps that we just talked about, that I can get to that stage of contentment, because I don't want it to be what I'm going to call a compulsory contentment. Like the Chesterton quote, I'm resigned to living in this. I want it to be more of a curious contentment, getting outside of the box, outside of my head, outside of my normal thinking patterns, and into this upside down world of Jesus where the first are last and the least ends up being the most. Thanks for hanging out with me today here on UnPerfect. If you enjoyed this podcast, would you please take a second to give a rating? That is so fast. All you have to do is click the 5th star, okay? Or a review, which is just a small little blurb about why you enjoyed the podcast. That is how we can help other people, unperfect people like us, find the podcast and get some encouragement that they need and some resources that they need. Jesus, we love you. We thank you that you are enough, that you are everything. God, we thank you that even when we're feeling robbed, things aren't going exactly the way that we had petitioned for you and hoped you would come through, God, that you're still on your throne and that you still love us intimately. Would you bring us to places of curious contentment so that our focus is not on ourselves, but is on you and your people and the people you've called us to love. I pray that you help my sister who is listening right now to be able to see glimpses of glory in the now and the not yet of her unperfect life this week. It's in your name I pray. Amen. I'll see you guys next time.